Introducing Built to Last, a new podcast by American Express. I'm Elaine Welteroth, and I'm excited to host the debut season where we will be deep diving into the stories, history, and continued legacy of small businesses that shape American culture. Through these important conversations, we'll hear how the Black business leaders of our past have inspired today's Black-owned small businesses and communities. Join us for the debut season of Built to Last on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast, sponsored by Lono Coffee. Visit lonocoffee.com, use promo code COFFEE2020 for a discount. Today, a disappointing performance by the Washington football team in a 20-13 loss to the Carolina Panthers. I talked to Michael Phillips from the Richmond Times Dispatch about the loss, more specifically what it means for quarterback Dwayne Haskins. We also talked Chase Young, a massive silver lining here, as well as looking ahead to the finale against Philadelphia. Can this team still do it? Who would you start at quarterback? I also asked Michael about the column he wrote last week about Ron Rivera's chance to back up his culture talk when it came to the Haskins situation. An interesting conversation. You can follow Michael on Twitter at MichaelPRTD, and you can read my work on ESPN.com. Before I share my conversation with Michael, I have a couple quick comments, and they are relatively quick. A lot was made after the game about Dwayne Haskins not talking to the media initially. For me, it was simply noted because we always talk to the starting quarterback. Clearly, when there's a benching, it becomes an ambiguous situation. And if a guy wants to talk to us, they usually do. If a player dresses and is requested, they are obligated to talk per NFL rules. I don't want to crush Haskins for this. I'm only addressing it because it was out on social media, so I wanted to let people know what happened. We were told initially that he turned down a request in the heat of the moment, and then when Taylor Heineke talked, he felt that he had satisfied the requirement that the quarterback talks. But when he got home and realized PR had been calling him, he got in touch with them and said he would talk. You can do with that what you want with that information. I appreciate the fact that he did talk, regardless of how it came together or what anybody else thinks. That's what happened. Washington PR called it a miscommunication. Again, I'm not crushing the kid for that. It has been a brutal week for him. Michael and I will talk enough about Haskins, so I don't need to go into too much on him. I have been disappointed this season in slot receiver Steven Sims Jr., though, and he finished strong last year, and I really liked him. By all accounts, he had a good offseason of work. I liked how he would get open against guys in the slot. Felt like he left guys in the dust, especially in those whip routes. But because of injuries, he was slowed this year. The inconsistent hands have also been a problem. It was one reason why Washington was slow to play him last year. I don't think they didn't really trust his hands, and there's some other things, but I know that was part of it. And that's why he didn't go back to punt return until later in the year. Sure enough, he muffed a punt that resulted in a touchdown and got Washington off on a horrible foot. He just hasn't made the plays I thought he would. I'd like to see how he responds to this year, but he's got some work to do. That muffed punt was an absolute killer. I can't imagine how upset Ron Rivera is tonight. I was told during the week how badly he wanted this game against his former team and for the division title. Instead, his team looked really bad for 3 quarters, especially offensively. I'm not blaming him. We all saw what we saw. That's what we saw. And here he is, having dealt with what they did during this year, having to once more deal with nonsense. And I'll say this again. The owner must stay away from player acquisition. He likes guys with a certain swagger who speak a certain way, or by that I mean like with some of the confidence or bravado or whatever. All that does is end up in bad fits and bad teams. He needs to start listening for certainly key spots to his coaches and his scouts. Whatever QB they get next, it has to be one that is brought in by the football people. That would represent a change over the past decade. Alex Smith is one example of a guy that Snyder was really not the driving force behind, but a lot of the other ones, that's been the case. He needs to step back. Otherwise, you get these Dwayne Haskins situations where, again, this team certainly would not have invested a first-round pick in him had they gone with the advice of the scouts and the coaches. Maybe they take him later in the second round if he falls a third, whatever. But it becomes different when you take him 15th, and that I think that got everything off to a bad start for Haskins. Anyway, that's it for me. After this break, I'll be back with Michael Phillips from the Richmond Times Dispatch. We're talking Haskins, Chase Young, and more.
Hey there. The holidays are here, so it's good to know Kroger can save you some time with free pickup on all your fresh favorites. Whether your traditions call for a hearty helping of juicy ham, ample apple pie, or Aunt Sue's legendary twice-stuffed stuffing, Kroger has got you covered. So order for free pickup at Kroger.com or the app and get more time to get your holiday on when you grab your groceries curbside. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Free pickup on orders of $35 or more. Restrictions may apply.
You've heard me talking about Lone Oak Coffee for a couple months now. Let me tell you a little bit about who they are and what they're about. Lone Oak Coffee is based in the Shenandoah Valley, just a nice bunch of people who are open for business during this trying time. Just look at their website, loneoakcoffee.com, and what do they highlight? Their core values of quality, family, transparency. They work with co-op farmers from all over the world to source their beans. They also support small farmers to find the right beans. During this pandemic, one of my saving graces has been grinding my beans from Lone Oak Coffee and taking a few minutes before the day to savor the coffee, get my mind right. Put a little jazz or Frank Sinatra or Louis Armstrong on in the background, it's even better. I've enjoyed all their blends, but among my favorites, the Ethiopian Guji, love the berry flavor, the Mexican Chiapas, and their house blend. Start your day off right with Lone Oak Coffee. Visit loneoakcoffee.com, that's LONEOAK coffee.com. Use promo code COFFEE2020 for a discount. You can thank me later. And now it's Michael Phillips from the Richmond Times Dispatch, America's podcast guest. And right before we came on, I think you kind of said something like, basically, just when you think you've seen everything.
You can't make this stuff up, man.
Right, and that's what you said.
Even by Ashburn standards, this has been a week.
I don't even know where to begin with it because it has been. But I guess the obvious places. I was just listening. Dwayne Haskins. There's the topic that everybody's talking about.
All right, let's go big picture on Dwayne Haskins here.
Yes.
He's been here for 2 years now. He's been in the NFL for 2 years, and I get that he's young and hasn't had a lot of coaches and all that. But the mistakes he's making are not, oh boy, they disguised the blitz well and they really fooled you there. And, if he just done, he's making day one mistakes of, frankly, Taylor Heineke comes in and sees the things that Dwayne could have seen to advance the team and win the game. Some of these mistakes have been just baffling how he has not gotten over that hump.
Well, what's concerning is that, and I know, end of the game, they're going to play different defenses. Let's say that. But Heineke looked more comfortable. Mm-hmm. He's been here a month.
It's a really tight-knit team, too. I think you got it, even from a distance, you can tell that these guys like each other, these guys play for each other. We've been talking, everybody talks about how that 11-day stretch between Dallas and Pittsburgh, they all got to know each other, they all like each other. They want to play that style, up-tempo, pump each other up, the swag style, I guess, if you will. And it just feels like that all just the balloon deflates when 7 is out there.
Well, that's the thing. I think energy. These guys want to bring energy. There are a lot of guys that bring it, and it hasn't been happening with him. Let's go back. Well, let's go back to the decision to keep him around.
Sure.
Because you did write something on that earlier this week, and I wanted to revisit that with you because at the time, you pretty clear. If you're changing the culture, there was your chance to do it.
Yeah.
It's funny because I talked to some other people in the building too, where it's like, I think the hard part for them was, it's the whole, you're trying to help these other 52 guys win a division title, and you feel like that's your best chance, and so you feel like if you make a move, you go away from that. But
and I'm not an absolutist here because I understand there is a time and a place where culture does not trump all. When 3 years from now, when this team's 13-3 and we're going into NFC title game week, and Chase Young does something stupid on a Monday, which I don't think he will, but let's say he does, that is the time when you say, he apologized to the team, we're moving past this, we're on to the NFC title. When you have the chance at the prize, you do throw some things out the window. And Ron Rivera demonstrated that in Carolina. He gave Cam Newton a long leash in the winning seasons and a shorter leash in the losing seasons. They're 6-9 right now. It's the NFC East. Look, I think these guys could beat Tampa in the playoffs. I know that sounds crazy.
You've been on that for a couple weeks.
I know that sounds crazy. I think these guys could beat Tampa in the playoffs. I still don't think in year one it's worth compromising for this NFC East title.
And that's where I think it's a hard thing. And again, because I understand that point. And my point, again, my thing was, first of all, Rivera got put in a really bad spot.
Oh, goodness.
And like you saw that throughout the week when he snapped on the video conference. And I know it was after my question. It wasn't directed at me.
No.
I know that.
Nope.
It was directed at he just didn't want to talk about it anymore. And it was about his frustration with having to deal with that. And that's what comes with this. But that's why I say, like, it really, he must not have had, I don't think they all had a lot of faith in what they knew what Heineke or Steven Montez could do, and which is, again, why I think there's the old 50, it's about the 53, but it really was. I mean, now in hindsight, you look at it and say, well, you could have done this, and maybe it would have worked out.
You don't know that Heineke's going to be that good and get that much juice and be that much of a natural.
No. That's why I say it's a hindsight.
Let's call it what it is. He missed a couple throws too.
Yeah.
In a full week of prep and play, he might not be that good.
Sure, absolutely.
Because if he was that good, he'd be on an NFL roster. But he was better than expected, and shoot, I was willing to write off the Philly game if him or Montez had to play, and I don't think it's a total write-off now. I think give this guy a week, see what you can do. This defense covers over a lot of flaws, even though they struggled at times today a lot.
And like I said, to be clear, with what you had thought in your column, and I think that there was a difference of opinion by a lot of others, and I think it is a definite thought that you can have when you're trying to build that culture. And I just felt like Rivera got put in such a bad spot that, you're trying to win, you're saying you want to win, and if this guy does that and we can do this, and it's clear, I think, after today that you can look at Haskins' future and say it's not going to be in Washington.
And if I have a regret, it's that people seem to think I'm anti-Ron Rivera, which is not true at all. I think he's been really good for this franchise. I am behind a lot of the moves he's made. He has assembled a very nice football team here. I think they could be competitive sooner rather than later. But that's also why you're harsher on the guy when he makes what you perceive to be a pretty big misstep. And earlier this season as well, with the timeouts, not playing to win games. Goodness, how much would you like to have one of those back right now?
Well, that 2-point conversion still, and not even the decision, but the fail to get it was more is a bigger thing than even the extra timeout against the Baltimore or Cleveland, whatever. But
to wrap up the other quarterback though, is this a bad sign for Montez that he didn't get in, that he didn't get the nod?
I think it's a lot about. Rivera is so big on trust, and I think that's where I don't think he trusts Haskins. And I don't think they trust what they know, what they have in Montez, because they can't even look at preseason film and say, well, we can do this because we saw this. They didn't get that opportunity this year. So I think that's where and they know they've had Heineke before. Now, when he came in, it's 20-3. I think at that point, you're looking for a spark, and he kind of gave him one. But I think that's a lot of what it is, too. But, again, I think going back to what I said a couple minutes ago, you come out of this one and say, okay, Haskins' future is elsewhere.
Your lack of trust never more evident there than 4th and 2 from the 8, and you kick the field goal. That's not a play to win the game play.
Especially because you knew that you hadn't been getting down there all day. So I get that you cut it to a 2-score game.
The math checks out.
I absolutely get that, but I do think my first thought was, well, if you have somebody else a quarterback, do you go for that? And I don't know that he would. We saw 4th and 2 later in the game where it was, he certainly didn't handle it well.
Yeah.
So, which is, I think, part of why Rivera went to Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, just a tough week all around, and what should have been a really triumphant week here. And all Ron Rivera wants to talk about is the future, and I understand why, because the past is a flaming pile of dog poo. It just is here. The last 10 years speaks for itself, and yet we constantly get dragged back into it, and it just. How much did this resemble all those late season failures of recent memory?
I think it's the old Al Pacino. Just when I thought I was done, they pull me back in.
Pull me back in.
And to be clear, from a media perspective, you don't the last thing I wanted last week in the week of Christmas was to have to deal with all of that. As a reporter, it is not what you want.
And I understand that we are bringing the message here, but we're not negative. We're just hearing the things we hear and passing them along. And with this franchise, those things have been negative more often than they've been
Yeah.
positive. I would love to be in Tampa that first week of February. That sounds fun.
I mean, it's a lot more fun to cover playoff football than it is to do anything else in
than
January.
Senior Bowls.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but looking at the future, the one guy that really jumped out big time again was Chase Young. And he seems to get better or do more every week. Any surprise for you the way he's been finishing this?
Dude, he's so good. He impresses me more and more every week. It just, in the first half, 20-3, he was steaming hot on the sideline. He was really mad they were not giving their all. He was really mad they were not executing, they were not finishing. He was mad they were losing. Man, give me 22 of those guys. We'll have a football team.
I'll take a few more.
Need some depth too. The motor, the way he plays, the speed, the power, makes his own fumble and recovers it. A well-deserved nod, obviously, making him captain.
Yes.
Which was very nice because it covered over Alex Smith also being named a captain, which was a little, hey, my guy finally gets to be the quarterback captain here. But well-deserved for Chase, and I just, he reminds me of Jonathan Allen a lot. And, Jonathan Allen, those first couple of years, just the losing ate at him so much, coming from a winning college program and not being used to it. And you just hope he doesn't lose that fight. You're going to lose in the NFL. You could lose 6 games a year if you're a really good team. You're going to lose because these are the best players in the world. But, man, keep that fire. It's really cool to see.
I agree with that, and I think the thing that's been fun to see with him, it's organic.
Yeah.
It is not a forced – it is not a – and this, Haskins made a lot of noise. I want to be a captain, and then he gets named captain and all that. That's fine. This is all happened organically. This happened, he was named captain because he became a team leader. But I think the difference too when you bring up Allen, and you're right, I think getting those guys from those programs, Alabama, Ohio State, they're used to a certain thing. The difference though is that Chase Young is a playmaker.
Yeah, he
and
is.
so he can impact the game, I think. I think Jonathan Allen's been playing really well, but Chase Young can make game-changing plays. And I think guys like Chase Young view himself as the solution, not anything more than that.
Not a piece of the puzzle, or
Yes.
whatever. And that's who you ride in Philly next week. Whatever this situation is, maybe Alex Smith at 90%, Taylor Heineke, whatever we're doing here, Philly is out of this. Get a big play early. Get to Hurts early. It's going to be cold. It's going to be miserable in that stadium. There are no fans. The wind blows around in there. It's a terrible place to be. It's a terrible city to be in. I don't like the people there. Other than that, though.
There's some good restaurants up there.
There are some good restaurants in Philly. Get to them early. Let your playmakers make plays. That's how you demoralize a team. That's how you clinch a playoff spot instead of letting them hang around. You spot a team 20-0.
Right.
They started, hey, we're not playing for anything. Winning feels good.
Yeah.
Let's go for this.
Well, because their problem was not being able to come back in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That's what Carolina's. Bridgewater was 0 for 8 when having the ball in the fourth quarter this year. They kind of alleviated that by not falling behind.
Yeah.
Do you still think that this team can do it in Philly?
Well, they'll be the underdogs, and I think rightly so. But can you score on the first possession? They're 0 for 15. Nobody's gone 0 for in recent memory.
You always talk about consistency.
Consistency. You've got to score on the first possession. You've got to make a big defensive play early. Take them out of the game, and you can walk to this thing. You can win 41-10. You can romp it. If you let Philly think they've got a shot, they're going to take that shot, and they're going to enjoy beating you and making your life miserable. They're the favorites for a reason.
Right, and I think Jalen Hurts, you want to get to him a little bit early, just to. Because guys like that, once they get confidence, their game changes, and that's a scary thing for this team, I think, because they've given up enough big plays that it's helped them dig a hole. It's just that the defense clamps down a lot better.
Man, you got to really hope Terry McLaurin's back too.
Yeah.
That is. I like what Cam Sims brings to the table, but there's a drop. There's a drop off there, and tough day for Antonio Gandy-Bolt in his first game.
Yeah,
back.
he and I wasn't expecting
tough
much.
spot.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting much. He's had a disjointed rookie year.
Yep.
I think you can just worry about him for next year and just hope he can throw a few blocks this year and help. But and I guess the other thing is if Alex Smith can come back, and that's what do you do if he can't?
I'm going Heineke, ride the hot hand. You want a quarterback who can help let your defense win. I think Heineke took too many shots for my taste. That said, it was 20-6. It was a situation that called for it. I would like him with a much more conservative game plan. He was doing really well reading those short routes. You can tell he has a very in-depth knowledge of the offense and how to run it. I think you go with the safe thing, put this on your defense to win.
Could you go back to Dwayne at all?
No. I mean, what was that last answer from Ron? What do you want to see from him? Consistency. Improvement.
Yeah.
Improvement. Yeah, it's over. It's
shocking where we're at with this.
This happened so quickly. This is a year and a half.
We're talking about Taylor Heineke giving them the best chance to win if Alex Smith can't play.
Because, man, we say this so much it's a cliche, but it's true. That kid has talent, Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah.
That kid is really talented. That arm is good.
He's not a bad kid.
No.
I think what they've always wanted is to mature. Just mature. And he hasn't done it to the level that they need him to be, that he needs to be. And I think it's been hard to watch him on these Zoom conference calls too, to be honest. I mean, on Wednesday, it was his decision to give us, to talk to us and give us an apology. Today after the game, I mean, we're seeing a understandably beaten down, defeated kid.
Yeah, and you made the point just about on your podcast last week about Chase Young and you just being fiery after the loss after making a mistake. It comes out differently in everybody, but you just never got the sense that he internalized what he needed to improve and worked on it and improved at it. And that it's tough to see. Michael Strahan was on the pregame show to say, like, there are people with less talent than you who will make it further in this league than you when you have that mentality. And by the way, that's Taylor Heineke. He's way less talented than Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of guys in the league who, I mean, as we've seen in the league, not just Dwayne Haskins, talent only takes you so far. Talent will get you here, but it's not going to keep you here.
Would you go back to Haskins?
No.
I
don't. No.
He'll be in the facility then. He'll be with the team this week.
He'll be with the team this week. I think that'll be his last week, and or whatever the season ends.
Is there any trade value there?
I don't think so. I mean, the only thing I could see is if somebody really liked him before the draft and said, you know what, we'll give you a 7th round pick for him. But there's been so much that has happened with him that he has really hurt his value. Plus, I think teams are going to know they're going to cut him.
Yep.
If nobody trades him, they're going to cut him.
All about leverage.
Yeah, so why would we trade for him if they're going to cut him because they are going to go out and get somebody else? And I do think the best thing for Haskins is to go somewhere else and start over. Get out of your hometown, go somewhere else, eliminate these distractions, and just bury yourself in your work. And
the hometown thing's for real. I think that's a very real factor.
It is too.
Here. Yeah.
And listen, I mean, it'd be nice to see if this kid rebounds and does something down the road. I don't know if it'll happen or not. I mean, we've all seen what we've seen, and we hear what we hear. But he is young, and so if he can go somewhere else and maybe carve out a career for himself, that'd be fun. A nice story for him. I just don't see it happening here.
It feels like this is a really important off-season quarterback search because I just feel good about this defense.
Yeah,
yes. I mean, get somebody in it. Don't waste this window.
Yeah.
You have a chance to do something.
This window and plus this division. This division is highly winnable.
It's not getting better next year.
No, it's highly winnable for the next several years, which is why I wonder, does that automatically you're going to find a veteran now somehow? Yeah. Because would you really want to ride with an Alex Smith plus a rookie? I think that's asking a lot. I don't think that I'd want to go into next year with Alex Smith as the starter. I'd want to get something. There's going to be some veterans available. We'll talk about those as the offseason goes. But yes, I think you're right. I think you look at this team, this defense right now can get you somewhere. If you get a good quarterback in there, I think this offense looks a lot different.
No doubt.
Well, let's end there, Michael, and have a happy New Year. Thanks for coming on again. And
good times. Let's see what this week brings.
See what this week brings. I'm afraid to say, but we'll end there. Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
We want the best of both worlds. We want a hybrid. A smarter hybrid cloud approach with IBM helps retailers manage supply chains with Watson AI while predicting demands with ease. The world is going hybrid with IBM. Visit ibm.com/hybridcloud.
It's almost that time when you put your name in a grid and hope that your box hits the final score. But you don't have to wait until February to start winning. With Boxes, you can play box pools every day for every game. Boxes is completely free to play and you can win big. Washington football fans who download the app from the App Store or go to boxes.com, that's BOXIZ.com, and use our code KIME20 can enter our contest We'll have new games every week and incredible prizes in the playoffs and for the big game that will include tickets to games next year when fans can finally return in 2021. So go to boxes.com for more information or download the app now. BOXIZ. Use the code KIME20 when you sign up, and when you enter our contest, it's free for you and your friends to get in and win. Boxes, it's anyone's game. That's it for this episode. Thanks to Michael for joining me, and thank you, as always, for listening. Thanks to Lono Coffee for their continued support as well. I'll talk to you next time.